Hello and welcome to another tutorial with Diana. Today we're going to be using the spot healing brush, the healing brush, using a quick mask selection to select an area of the eyes. We're going to be using a liquefied filter and applying curves to the face. I'm going to show you how to use the spot healing tool to remove blemishes from a face. The spot healing tool lives in the toolbox to the left side of the screen. Click on the spot healing tool. Make sure the brush is the size, roughly the same size of the diameter of the blemish that you're trying to remove. I like to adjust the size of my ellipse. I like to make it a little more like an ellipse than a circle. And then I like to drag from left to right over the top of the blemishes. So I found this to work well. So that's how you use the spot healing tool to remove blemishes from a face. You generally move all around the face to remove the blemishes and then move on to the next stage, which is using the healing brush. The healing brush tool lives underneath the spot healing tool, and the way you use this is to duplicate or to make another layer in your layers palette to make sure aligned and sample all layers is selected, to increase the size of the brush to the area that you're wanting to remove or to touch up. I'm looking at the area underneath her eyes in this particular case. Hold down the Option or Alt key, select an area of texture that you'd like to replace, and select, and then paint over the top of the dark shadows under her eyes. Now it looks like we're doing this a little too severely at this point, but what we're going to do is reduce the opacity on the layer so that you can see a little bit through and reveal the previous small amount of texture so that we've still got the contour of the eyes, but we don't have those dark shadows. Next we're going to make the eyes a little bit sharper. We're going to just sharpen the irises and the pupils on their own. To do this, we're going to make a selection of the iris area using the quick mask tool. Choose Q on the keyboard, B for brush, right arrow to enlarge the brush, paint over the eyes with the brush tool on quick mask, hit Q again to release the selection, Shift Command and I to inverse the selection, and then Option Command and J to duplicate the irises and hit return. Turn it on and off to make sure you've made a duplicate of the iris area on its own. Then we're going to go up to Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask, and increase that sharpening amount to 127 and the radius to 1.5 and click OK. Turn it on and off to see what it's done. It's made the eyes just a little bit sharper. Select on the irises, Q on the keyboard again, quick mask tool to make a selection of the bottom area of the eye just opposite the highlight, Q again on the keyboard, Shift Command and I to inverse the selection, and choose brightness and contrast on the keyboard and just brighten up that bottom part of the eye on its own. Now you can turn those both off and on to see what they've done and zoom out to have a bit of a look at the difference it's made. It's just made the eyes pop a little bit more, which is what you want in a portrait. I'm going to use the Liquify tool to make adjustments to this face. Filter, Liquify. We're only going to use the top tool, which is called the Forward Warp tool. It's used with the size of the brush, so we'll just be using the brush on different sizes and pushing features around on the face very carefully. What you want to make sure of when you're doing this is that you don't grab areas that are way too large, because you will be adjusting more areas than you need to, and you can do some distortions at the same time as corrections, which is what you want to avoid. I'm going to use it to move the nose in, to move the brow up. I'm going to zoom in a bit to have a look at the lips closely. Increase the size of the lips very carefully by just grabbing with this crosshair and moving. increase the size of the brush and push the cheek, push the jowls in a bit to reduce the size of her cheeks. I'm going to pull the chin itself down to make her look like she's got a more defined jaw line, and push the ear in a little bit to make her look a little more streamlined. And I think that's about it. Okay, so now she has a little bit more of a feminine, sort of thinner appearance to the face. Next we're going to use an adjustment layer and curves to increase the highlights and the midtones in the image to create a bit of a brighter effect. And then I'm going to show you how to use another technique to sharpen the image without making destructive edits. First of all, we will choose curves from the adjustment panel, and we will grab the highlight area and drag down the midtones a fraction, just to create a very subtle but a bit of a brighter look to the image. Next we're going to duplicate this original layer, and then we're going to go up to Filter, Other, High Pass, and to leave it on roughly 2.6, and then go up to your blend mode and down to soft light. And if you zoom in and turn that layer on and off, you can see that it's very slightly sharpened the image. And you can also use your opacity slider to increase and decrease the strength of the sharpening.